the chairperson of school at the School of Graduate Study at University Technology Malaysia. We are located down south Malaysia in the state of Johor, which is I think the closest state to Indonesia. Right. So as being introduced just now, I'll be using these 40 minutes basically to explain about how higher education institutions particularly play roles in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, right? So this is basically the agenda or what I'll be talking today. We'll be looking into the foundation or the principle of Social Development Goal or SDG, and why is it matters to the universities. And we'll be also looking at how universities can contribute actually towards the development and achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal, and perhaps giving some idea on how we can build a SDG engaged university. All right, so before I go further, let me recap, or let us go back very briefly about what is Sustainable Development Goals. As most of us are probably aware, the idea of Sustainable Development Goal was introduced in a meeting in September 2015, where most of the leaders at the United Nations anonymously agree on the agenda to adopt the agenda of Sustainable Development Goal, whereby the agenda is stating that by 2030 there are 17 agendas that the world would achieve, right? So it came into effective in January 1st of January 2016. And the aim is to get or to set all this path to be achieved by 2030. So it is like the whole countries in the world agreement or promise to make our world a better world, a more sustainable world. So there are 17 SDGs, as you can see in the circle or in the infographic on the right side. And they are basically 169 targets or specific achievement that you wanted to achieve by 2030 in this SDG. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with this infographic. These are the 17 SDG that has been laid out and planned to be achieved by 2030, ranging from issues like poverty to education to development, infrastructure, innovation, as well as partnership. So the whole 17 SDG is very, what I can say, diverse, right? And trying to address some important and as well as pertinent issues that we face in our world today. So today, and from there, you can see that many companies, many institutions has taken up to fulfill this initiative. I'm just quoting one of examples. This is from Nike's pledge to fulfill the SDG. As you can see from the picture, and I think we know that Nike is a sport clothing equipment company. Then as you can see from this picture, what it's trying to show, this is an athlete, one athlete, and he is one leg. So another one is an artificial leg, and if you can see that it is also having only one hand and another artificial hand on the other side. So this is basically trying to address the issue of diversity, inclusivity, right? When it comes to promoting sports, right? Traditionally, when we mention about sports, we only thought people who are, physically capable, very what we call having good stamina, right? To be in sports. But Nike has shown from this picture the concept of addressing few here, like gender equality, as well as providing reducing inequalities in this photo. And if you go to Nike's website, they have even outlined a very specific agenda. I think they have 4 out of the 17 that they try to address in their Sustainable Development Goals agenda. So this is giving one example how a company, corporate organization has tried to fulfill. So today we'll be talking about how we at the higher education institutions will be able to fulfill or to contribute to sustainable development goal. So that's coming back to my big question. So how does universities, our university, your university, my universities, and perhaps other universities in part of the world contribute to the achievement of this SDG? Now I prepared 2 sides, right? I think it's fair for us to look at how each parties could help. Now the first question is, how do the SDGs helps the university, right? Well, they can, SDG helps the university by allowing the university to demonstrate the impact of the university towards the society, right? It also allows the university to focus or captures the demand of specific SDG related education, which means that you are giving some directions to the university. When we review our curriculum, when we develop our curriculum, it should be related or focused or directing to achieving SDGs. I'm just quoting one of the examples that I have gone through with, there is one university in Australia, Curtin University. They even have doctoral in sustainable development, doctoral degree in sustainable development, right? So that is an example of how specific academic program has been tailored to achieve the SDG goals. SDG also helps university in terms of their networking and partnership, as well as accessing to new funding, and as well as making university to be more responsible, globally responsible university. On the other side, we are also talking about how does the universities, university help in achieving the SDG, and of course, as the institution that is pioneering in innovations, cultivating the spirits of knowledge, sharing of knowledge. One of the main function is basically to provide knowledge and solutions, right, to the implementation of SDGs. We have many problems that we try to solve in SDG. So where does these solutions come from? Apart from the industry, it also comes from us in the university. We are also talking about development and the creations of future SDG implementers, which is the students. That's why I think your universities now is organizing this event. The students in ITS, PULO, and other parts of the world are basically the future implementer of SDGs. If the students does not understand things like equality, right, inclusivity, climate change, then there'll be a problem because you are the future implementer, right? And we are talking about university to embody the principle of SDG in the organizational governance, the organizational operation, as well as culture. So when we talk about gender bias, these are being addressed at the institution's policies, for example. And finally, it's related to the developments of leadership in implementing it. So what I can say, what I can summarize is, and I have found that these are the 4 ways on how we can see the universities can contribute to SDG. In a nutshell, I have summarized into this. There are 4 big areas where we at the university can contribute to SDG. The first is through research. And of course, we understand by the principle and by the philosophical of research, research should be something, any activity of research should be contributing towards solving a problem, producing an innovation that solves existing problem, as well as perhaps capacity building. And then the second one on how university can basically contribute to SDG is via the learning, teaching and learning. So we are talking about providing curriculum, providing program, providing educations that supports the sustainable development. And then we are talking about capacity building, upskilling and reskilling, and also mobilizing the young people going to other parts of the world to look at what is happening in other parts of the world. And like I mentioned just now, in terms of the operations and the governance, is related to how policy is being implemented at university. And finally, on leadership is basically on disseminating information, getting engagement, creating awareness about the importance of SDG. All right, now let us go to the specific one, and I think that is where all of you, as students and myself as a lecturers, were involved. When we talk about the students, not all students are aware about the term of SDG. So sometimes when I go in class, I spend few minutes to explain to the students what is SDGs and what are the 17th agenda and what does it mean by this 17th agenda. So, of course, when we talk about learning and teaching, the most related SDG is basically the SDG number 4, which is to provide quality educations. So in this, the 4th SDG, it talks about recognizing the importance of education to sustainable development, which calls for providing inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. So there are a few keywords here. When we talk about SDG at the universities level, we should be ready to provide inclusive. So meaning that we will try to address issues related to students with disabilities, with some disadvantages. Equitable, right? Which means that the students perhaps there is no issues of gender bias and so on, and also promoting lifelong learning, which means that the university should be able to offer a program, right, that not only caters to the mainstream student, but also students perhaps that comes from who wanted to come and study for reskilling and reskilling purposes. All right. So this is what I said. In a nutshell, I think what I would suggest and what I reckon that the university should do is that university should be the center or the institutions that provide students with knowledge, with skills, not only skills, but cross-cutting skills, which means very right skills and key competency to understand and to address the challenge of SDGs. So what is basically the skills that is needed that the university has to instill towards the students? These are the top skills that has been laid out by McKinsey, all right, a marketing research company, and by the World Economic Forum. So when they talk about the skills or the future job skills, well, we can see here, according to the World Economic Forum, the skills that we foresee that is going to be important in the next, just 3 to 4 years, is basically the problem solving skills. We are talking about producing graduates or students that have analytical thinking, complex problem solving skills, critical thinkings and creativity, as well as ability to provide reasons, problem solving and ideation. So what we can see that in future, right, in the next coming few years and perhaps 10 years to go, these would be the top and the type of skills, bearing in mind that perhaps some of these skills can be addressed by technology like artificial intelligence, but things like creativity, reasonings are still still at the very early stage when we talk about programming. So there is still what we call human side that is needed. So bear in mind, to all the students here, this is important skills, important skills that we should master and should be instilled by the university, be it your lecturers or the administrator, when it comes to the developments of their graduates. And then the second important skills is related to self-management skills, right? We are talking about things that be able to organize yourself, be self-tolerance, be resilience, being agile and being flexible. And of course, we understand that technology skills is important. it's sort of like kind of expected that you master certain basic technology skills. For instance, on how to organize a meeting online nowadays has become an important skills. How to organize a conference online, how to use certain software is kind of a prerequisite skills that is expected by the employees and also employers. And finally, which is related to your social skills on leadership and social influence. And if you can see that it's almost the same, although it comes from two parties, right? It discuss about almost a very similar skills. So this is what I'm saying, that as an institution in preparing for SDG achievement, right, for quality education, not only that we agree to allow more women to go to school, not only that we allow more people with some physical disadvantages to be in this system, we also need to be ready to equip our students with the specific skills to allow them to achieve the SDG. So what else besides preparing on the skills? We talk about universities needs to be able to integrate, right, the SDG discussion in all undergraduate and graduate courses, right? Not only by adding the courses, but to include or integrate, right, the discussion of SDGs in most of the syllabus, okay? And certain university has started to offer executive program education as well as capacity building courses, right, that is related to SDG. Also, we can design our learning, our activities in a way that the students are engaged in the co-creations of learning environments that support the learning of SDGs. And lastly is to perhaps to structure the courses around the real world collaborative. If we can have this, is great, right? And we also talks about giving the young people, like what ITS is doing now, an opportunity to be heard, to be participating in universities' SDG initiative, right? And also to get business to involve with the university in realizing this SDG achievement. Now, I'm just sharing a few things that my university has conducted in order to support this SDGs initiative. In the past 1 or 2 years, we have been focusing in or shifting our education or our academic program to more to cater more of lifelong learning on demand, and also flexible education. So we still have our mainstream academic program, which means that the students come to campus, they go to class, right? And they finish their education in a structured academic program. But we are now starting to shift and starting to focus the sharing of our academic program to these three categories of students that demand or interested in lifelong learning, which means that they have been working and they wanted to continue their educations. Learning on demand, which things like micro credentials that we have now, is the small bite learning. Sometimes we do not want to learn the whole program, but we are only interested to learn what we call very small and specific topics. So we have the program, what we call here the micro credential program. And I think the micro credential program is very famous. And now, if you have came across EDX or Coursera or Domestika or FutureLearn, these are example of learning on demand platform. And in UTM, we have started to offer our micro credential courses to support this learning on demand. And we also have what we call the flexible education, where we introduce our own the first 100% online open and distance learning program, which means that the students study 100% online. So this is how my university is actually is putting the initiative to fulfill the SDG requirement through the academic program. And also, when we talk about SDG number 4, when we talk about quality educations, we also need to understand that students come from various backgrounds. Some of them are in a positions where they are probably financially disadvantaged. So in order to give equitable, all right, access to educations, universities needs to think about providing financial assistance or scholarships to the students. So at UTM at the moment, we have scholarships both for the postgraduate as well as the undergraduate students, depending on the criteria that has been set by each of the scholarship. And this scholarship would cater for the local as well as the international students. Right, so that's the first part. The second part of how the universities can contribute to the SGD is the research part, right? We understand that in universities, it's very synonymous to relate university with research activity, right? And that's very true, because fundamentally, research, knowledge creation, and innovation across any discipline, be it physical sciences, social sciences, biomedicals, and whatever, are the fundamental success implementation for SDG, for all the SDGs. So which means that if we are good at research that has impact to the SDGs achievement, solving SDGs problem, engaging with the community, we are on a good track. So what I can see here is, of course, out of the 17, there are so many things that the university's research can cater, but I'm just taking few example on how university can set what we call the research priority areas, which means that you can design your research to focus on few SDGs achievement. Now, I'm just listing here industry innovation infrastructure. We are talking about improving the infrastructure at certain industry. Perhaps when to address SDG number 2 related to hunger, research can focus on how to develop food security or to promote more nutritional food for people. Or when we talk about healthy lifestyle and well-being, we're talking about how to produce a more balanced work-life balance, for instance. So these are, I'm just taking few examples. So these are how university can tap this and call that perhaps their research priority areas. Because in the past, what we see in research at the university is that when we talk about research in university, it tends to be very focused, work in a very focused area and very specific problems. Now you wanted to solve very specific problems. And in the past, research tend to focus on less focus on the impact of the research towards the community and the industry. And we can see there is very less focus on the aspect of commercialization. Now, we hope this to change as the research at the university going towards SGD, but I would reckon that if we could encourage and promote the SDG as a topic of research within the university, which means, like I said just now, take that as a research priority areas. And if possible, rather than to scope down into a specific field, why not explore interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary or even multidisciplinary research? And maybe you can support incubation center for innovations, promote national support and coordination as well. And also it will be interesting if we can talk about capacity building and research across country, across developing countries. And I know that things like agencies like Erasmus is doing this, but if we can have more of this, it's excellent. Sharing you, for example, of what we call the translational research that we have been promoting in UTM is that we now is trying to focus our research into giving impact to the community, into solving few community problems, right? Like the issues of clean water, drinking water. We try to have our expertise to solve this problem in rural area inside Malaysia. We talk about providing solar power to villages, right? That is far rural villages that's far from the cities. And we also send our expert to children in less developed countries to give them an equitable access to education. And this is a project about we call the EV electric vehicles car, the national electric vehicles car, to support green environment. right? So we have those are the two things. I think when we talk about higher education, it's the two things, the education as well as the research. But we have to remember as well, there is another component in the university, which is the leadership and the governance, which is the administrative part. So we can, let me quote what Simon Sinek said, whatever we have, if it's an idea, it will remain as an idea. It will turn into something beneficial after we try it, after we experiment it, we iterate it, and if we fail, we try again. Then only change will happen. So without the administrative support from the university's leaderships uh, group, we would unlikely to see changes to happen from the research or even from the academic part. So from the administrator point of view, I would suggest that should be more engagement, and I salute ITS for having this, because it is I know it's challenging to get people, for the young generation, whatever we have in today's session, which I believe most of you are students, to be engaged, to be aware about this SDG initiative, and having like cross-sectoral dialogues, right? And maybe developing policies and advocacy on social development at your institutions is vital for the administrative and the leaders at the higher education institution. Um, and if you can see that perhaps at a higher level, at the country level, there is what we call the Sustainable Development Solution Networks, which is an initiative by the United Nations, and it has a country chapter, country as well as regional chapter. So there has been initiative by a few groups, and each of them would share on this website. And I see this one is by the Indonesian representative, which talk about the cityscape, which how to make cities to become more productive and efficient for socio-economic development. So this is an example of how a research and administrative components of the universities can contribute towards the sustainable development goals. Now, we have identified just now the 4 areas. So where do we start? How do we start? Now, I would suggest that this is not my framework. This is a framework that I've taken from the SDG university guidelines produced by the SDG networks, the Australian, New Zealand, and Pacific edition chapters. I like it very much. I think this is practical to implement. They have outlined that for universities, there should be 5 steps that they suggest us to follow. That is beginning with identifying or mapping what you're doing, and then later on you will talk about building the capacity, identifying the priority to implement it, and later to monitor and to communicate your achievement. So based on the 5 steps just now, the first thing is probably, if you want to start with SDG initiative, is to identify what have you already been doing. I'm sure somewhere and somehow the university have started into it. So it can start with looking into their curriculum, their research agenda, their policy. And once you have identified what you have done, you can talk about building or building the capacity or expanding the initiative, right? So that's where you can get engagement with the university or establish specific unit to address the SDG matters. And after we have identified the ownership, we can start to identify the priorities, the opportunities, and the gap that we need to build, right? And sometimes you cannot do it yourself. You need to integrate and implement and embed it with other institutions or other strategies. So all of this actually would require the participation, the involvement, the thinking from the university's leaders, right, on how we implement the SDGs. And of course, I think eventually, when you have implemented, the monitoring and evaluation part would be critical, right? So to conclude, I would say that well, it's interesting to discuss and to lay out all plans about SDGs, and we all understand that it is important. We are living in a world where there are lots of pollutions, there were a lot of problems, and we know that we need to solve this problem. And what I am afraid of is the concept of SDG washing. This is a concept that we always discuss when we talk about green marketing, right? The greenwashing. So greenwashing, which means SDG washing, means it is being overemphasized, being overemphasized, right? Being overemphasized. But at the end of the day, it kind of dilutes the important, right? Dilutes the important. So we do not want to make this some being talk, but there were less action. So it can be the same happen to SDG as well. So it needs actually actions and implementation. So it is that therefore it is very important to ensure that SDG are not being used only, all right, to promote the perception of university contributing to sustainable development. We need action here. And also when we say that we need action, the first step is actually to be clear on the objective, on the specific task that we need to do to achieve this goal, right? And I think that's all for today. I hope that I have summarized the important information about the role of higher education institution, particularly the university, in assisting us to achieve the sustainable development goal. Hopefully, at the end of 2030, we will be able to see that we live in a better world with the contribution from all of us today. Thank you very much. So I'm handing over back to the chairperson. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much to Professor Hazarina. Now we know, probably, if some of us probably have forgotten accidentally about the possibility of university's role in SDGs. Now we know it more clearly that we actually, by working at the universities, we can actually contribute to many aspects in supporting SDGs, whether we are lecturers, researchers, supporting staff like I am, or probably students. We can actually act a lot, not only talking about it, yes, Prof, but we also have to act so that we don't get SDG washed. We don't only talk about it, but also do make action, act for SDGs. Thank you so much for the insightful elaboration, Prof. Hazarina, and we will come back to you for the Q&A at the Q&A session. Now I would like to invite the second speaker, our second speaker. Okay, so our second speaker is Miss Norhati, Miss Norhati Tangging. She is a youth leader from Basilan Young Leaders in Corporation. So, good afternoon, Ms. Norhati.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Ms. Norhati. Thank you so much for agreeing to be the second speaker for the GLS on SDGs today's at ITS. But before that, I would like to, before we listen more to Ms. Norhati, we're going to get to know her better. So this is the short bio of Ms. Norhati. Ms. Norhati is a team leader from Balai Mindanao Foundation Corporation from Basilan Province. She is from the Philippines, and as you can see here in her short bio, I say it short, but it is actually long. She got several awards, including the 2019 Gawat Agilapis Education Program Ambassador, Carl Balita Review Center, and also at the same year she was appointed as the Ambassador of Goodwill to the 46th Ship for Southeast Asian and Japanese Youth Program. I read it as SCAP. Okay, she can talk about it later by herself. And at the same year again, she was appointed for the Youth for Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative Fellow in the University of Nebraska, Omaha, USA. So, Miss Norhati, I am pretty happy because we can meet here at this session, and I'm pretty thankful for Miss Faiko because she introduced you to us, and we are very happy about that. So, without further ado, I would like to give the virtual microphone to Miss Norhati. Time is yours.
Yes, Assalamualaikum. Hi, Miss Astiri, no? And good afternoon to everyone who is with us today. I hope my internet connection will work within these 30 minutes having you guys. And of course, I would like to thank the organizer, Fai, no, my friend, my classmate Fai, no, who introduced me to you guys. And I'll be sharing to you as per invitation, no, I will be sharing what are we doing with the peace education here in the Philippines, and how are we contributing this to the SDG 16, or the peace education or peace building for the whole United Nations in the globe. So allow me to share my screen regarding the topic that I will be discussing for today. For a while, I hope my screen is visible, and I would like to have this discussion or session with you guys and interactive, even though we're not seeing each other, but I hope you guys will contribute or will participate for our virtual activity. So again, I'm Norhati Tangging, licensed professional teacher from the Philippines, who is also a peace builder by heart, professional teacher by profession, but a peace builder by heart. So I'll be sharing to you what are we doing in the Philippines, and how is this contributing to the United Nations goal, which is on peace building or peace education. Well, technically on your screen is a photo of a real or an actual photo taken from the Marawi War, which happened in the Philippines in 2017. So for those students here who are familiar with the war, happened in 2017, it's a very big problem and challenge that the Filipinos had faced, and how is it be impacted us. So I'll be sharing what is this war have impacted our country, and how is it also affecting other nation, the neighboring countries of the Philippines, such as the Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, Japan, and other Southeast Asian countries, and how is it affecting other international partners as well. Well, this Marawi siege, which just happened in 2017 years ago, up until now, had a very big impact to the Filipinos when it comes to peace and order. And from that experience that we had in 2017, which also had another reasons why conflict in southern Mindanao is continuously affecting, is because it's a long-term problem that we had, or long-term challenges that we had, which help us now with another peace and development program in the Philippines, or in southern Philippines, which is I'm currently in. So I'll be sharing to you, and how is it impacting every Filipino here in my country. Well, the peace and development is one, or peace, justice, and social institution is just one of the SDG, or United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that is concerning every citizen in the world. And of course, peace education, conflicts, securities are concern not just of one sector, but it's concern of the whole nation. And it's also affecting every individual, because when there's war, everyone is being affected, whether you are young, old, women, men, whatever societal status that you are affected. So I'll be talking more of how is of how is this making impact to everyone, and how can we contribute as an individual? What are the policies that should be passed? What are the roots or the root causes of these conflicts? What are the pull and full factors that contributes to the conflict? And what are the things that also can help solve this conflict or violence? Or if I should say, what are the factors that affects peace building or nation building as a whole? Well, peace and development in Southeast Asia is one of the things, or is one of the programs that we're doing on preventing, transforming violent extremism in Southern Philippines. Well, let me share to you my experiences. But before that, I would like to ask everyone here in the Zoom, what is peace for you? It's a personal definition. Kindly chat your answers in this group chat for 2 minutes, maybe. There's no right or wrong answer. I would love to listen to the different answers that you have. So I can see the chats here. So I'll be giving everyone 2 minutes. Please do not hesitate to share the definition of peace to you. Because from this definition, we can have a bigger scope of understanding peace to everyone. Wait. Okay, I'll be giving 2 minutes to everyone. If the moderator also can help me as well read their answers. Okay, I have here, peace means respect each other. Peace means live in harmony. Peace means where everything is united. Okay, peace means freedom. What else? This is we have 50 plus students here, or participants from this lecture. I hope to
Can I
receive
also enter? Okay.
Yes, I'm inviting everyone. What do you think, guys, is peace? I feel peace when I can do anything I want without problem. Okay. Peace means quiet life, like neighborhood, helping each other. Okay. Peace means peace is life in respected manner. Peace means less conflict internally and externally. Prosperous, a condition where there is no conflict. Okay. Peace is the freedom where disturbance internally and externally. Okay. Peace is no violence. Peace is when they are happy and free from trouble. Others are happy and free from trouble. Everyone can move safely and comfortably. Societal friendship. Okay, that's diplomacy. What else? I'm very happy receiving your answers, guys. Calm state of mind. Okay, that's a peace of mind. Yes. Peace is unity. Okay. Thank you so much for those who answered. And please don't be shy sharing your understanding, because why I asked this question, why I did ask everyone to share the definition of peace, because every individual coming from the different walks of life have this different understanding, because we have different backgrounds, and that's understandable, and that's also given from the background that we have and the things that's shaping us. Well, when you ask me what's peace, for me peace means no war, because I made such definition based from the experience that we have been experiencing. Another question. This is just a survey, so that we can have better understanding of, guys, what are your national policies in your country regarding peace. Okay, this is regarding peace. We are not taking going to another topic. I would like to ask everyone, for you guys, what do you know about the national policies that you have in your country regarding peace? So that I think we have different participants here. So it would be nice if we can listen based on your understanding. What do you know about your national policies regarding peace building, peace education, or peace movements? Okay, so I'll be reading your answers.
While waiting, Miss Hati. Okay, Miss Hati. Actually, I find it hard to answer this question. It made me realize that all of this time, I didn't really pay attention to policy and about peace in my country. And I think I'm a bit flustered because I find it hard to answer. So I'm also interesting to get to know more about this.
Yes, thank you so much, Nastiti for that. Actually, this is also an eye opener for everyone, and also for me, of course, as an individual, about how much or how big do I know about peace education in my country. Because every individual has their own role and functions in nation building, specifically in peace building. Because when in times of war, no one is exempted from being affected, whether we like it or not. When there are war, when there are disputes, everyone is affected. So it's very, I think, I would like to listen to everyone, also to know what are our knowledge regarding the national policies on peace. But if there are also another participants here that's finding hard for to answer that question, there's no problem. I think I just want to float this question so that later on, when we will be talking about peace and development in our country, we will be able to identify and we will be able to be critical, to have a critical thinking regarding the nation's peace and order. So I think it's a very big, it's also very important for us guys to take a step on this, because this is a concern of everyone. So thank you so much, Nastiti, for being so honest. I appreciate such gesture, letting me know regarding the status of our awareness when it comes to peace and order or peace development national policies. So okay, so please do not let's take this chance to also be aware of our national policies when it comes to peace. Okay, I have here chat.
Sorry, that's also from me.
Yes. Yeah, I'm encouraging everyone as well to take a quick research maybe on the peace and order, because I'm asking this because aside from this is my forte or this is my expertise on peace education, I'm also interested about other nations peace and order. I have friends actually who has been working with peace, and their programs on peace building is very excellent because it answers their national conflicts, or it answers their national challenges. But at this time, okay, I at this time, I let me share to you and let's discuss more about peace and order. I have there's questions, so maybe later I could answer regarding such question. Yeah, thank you for that question. So let's move on to some of the national policies that we have, that we think guys maybe later we could reflect on what are our national policies as well. Okay. So I hope, can you see the screen or
Oh,
no, it's not moving, right? Okay.
it's not
In a
moving.
while, because I'll be sharing to you the different national policies that we have in my country. And I understand, and I fully understand as well, that each country has their own national policies based on the needs of the communities, of their communities. Okay. Okay. Wait, it's for a while. I'm having some challenges with my PowerPoint. Okay, there. Page 8. It's also very important, guys, that we should also take a step and take our roles in these national policies. Well, I would like to share to you our Philippine national policies that we are currently working. I am personally also working with this. Well, we have the National Action Plan on PCVE. PCVE means Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism. These national policies are currently answering our national challenges on peace and order. We have number one, we have the NTF-LPAC. This is a national task force for ending local communist armed conflict. We have the task force Balik Loob. This is a task force giving opportunity for former rebels who wants to surrender and to be part of the community, or former combatants who were fighting against the government. We also have the small arms and light weapons in the Philippines, which gives opportunity, because in the Philippines, owning a gun possessing a gun or possessing arms without papers are prohibited. Well, we have these small arms and light weapons giving opportunities to those illegal possession to be legal. We have also the normalization process for this long-term conflict in Mindanao and different peace talks in the Philippines. The national task force LCOC is a program for the Communist Party who are fighting against the government. So this is giving opportunity to these people who were fighting against the government before, but they wanted now to be part of national or nation building. And also this is similar with the task force Balik Loob. The task force Balik Loob is a program catering the former rebels, where in Mindanao we have these different programs for MNLF, MILF, Communist Party, PNP, People's New the NPA. We also have the Abu Sayyaf and other rebels in the country. We have also the small arms and light weapons. This is a national policy or national program from the Office of the President here in the Philippines, catering these people who are owning guns or weapons, arms and light weapons who are unregistered. We also have the normalization process, which is giving opportunity to the group of people in the country who were fighting against the government and giving them opportunity to be reintegrated. Okay, so those are some big national policies that we have in my country, and we are presently working on that. And now I'll be specific on my baby project in the Philippines, which I am presently working on, which is the AS2G Care program or AS2G Care project. Well, this is an advancing and sustaining good governance and community actions towards resiliency and empowerment. This is a program giving opportunity to former combatants or to former rebels who wanted to be part of the nation and peace builders. Because in the Philippines, this is a very big, this is a knowledge to everyone that we have this group of people who are fighting against the government. And for so many decades, they've been fighting and people are being affected because of this war. When there when the government opened an opportunity for them to be reintegrated or for them to return back to the fold of law, they embrace this program. And it's called Pig for Peace, but currently we are doing it in the presence of the AS2G care program, wherein these people who surrendered their firearms and they wanted to be reintegrated and to be part of a simple community here in the Philippines were given chances. So instead of them continuously fighting the government, they surrendered their firearms, and in return, they receive benefits from the government, and they are now living peacefully as productive part member of the communities. So being former fighters, they are now part of our nation building, and it helps it helped the community, the Philippines or the country on peace building and making the whole nation peaceful. So that's the main point of the main point of my sharing now is there are communities who are fighting the government, who are fighting the nation, who are fighting other people because they have the reasons. And upon doing such program, we've understand that these people have their various reasons why they combat, why they fight against each other, and why they fought the government. So in return, we the government and other non-government organization as well are giving support to these people who were fighters or who were the enemies of the nation before. So with this, we've conducted the various social interventions to them, such as psychosocial intervention. We've developed different programs to them. Sustainable livelihood is important given to the communities. Legal assistance to them. The legal process, the law should ignorance of the law excuses no one. So every Filipino should be knowledgeable regarding legal processes. Religious sessions or faith intervention is very important. Support linkages, and also the communities affected by armed conflict are very important in nation building. So these are just glimpses of the things that we are doing in the country and contributing to the nation building on peace building, as well as on the United Nations goal on SDG 16. Well, based from our experiences, based from our works that we do on peace building, there are different factors contributing to peace building and contributing to this nation building. Okay, my slide is not working, but peace building have different ingredients to sustain and to prevent, to counter violent extremism. When we say peace building, education is very important. When we say peace building, basic social services are very important to be given to every citizen of the country and to every individual. Peace building means peace and order. It's about securing the land, and it's about implementing the laws, strictly implementing the laws. Peace building means having justice to everyone, having equal justice to every Filipino or to every individual. Peace building is about having advocacies from every individual. And peace building as well is empowering everyone about their rights and their responsibilities in nation building. It's also about long-term planning on how do we sustain and how do we secure our nation. So these are just this I'm saying I'm just showing to you guys the basic or just some important ingredients of peace building and how we do such peace building in my country. Okay, just a result of what we've done. In 15 years ago, the communities that I am currently working with, or the province, is called Basilan. And Basilan is a small island in the country, in my Philippines, who have a presence of Abu Sayyaf. Who, when I say Abu Sayyaf, these are rebel group which have havoc, wreak havoc in Basilan and neighboring provinces. 15 years ago, this province have violent extremism actions or activities. There were rampant kidnappings, bombings, ambushes. Because of this, the community have this poor local governance and in the inadequate basic provision of basic services to every individual. And from these experiences, we've learned a lot and we've tried to work on the development. And then the graph or the chart that is shown in your screen are number of former combatants who surrendered to the flood of law, and it's part now of our nation building. So these are just some sample and of the things that we do. Or so take for example, there are communities who have done various violent acts or violent extremism actions before, but when we say peace building, it is about catering the problem. It's about going to the grassroots, giving and providing solution to the problem. And because of that, we were able to get these people and to make them to make them be part of the government, be part of the nation building, which contributes to the advancement of the country. And right now, we are very glad that these former combatants are now peace builders contributing to the nation. Okay, so these former combatants who are fighting against the government, who are now part of our nation building, who is contributing to the achievement of our goal to have peaceful community. When we say sustainable peace, it is not just the work of a person. It is not just the work of one sector. It is not just the concern of the government. When we say peace building, it's about whole of nation approach. It's about inclusion of every sector and every age in the community. That's why I want to go back to my previous question. For you guys, how do you define peace? And as an individual as well, I was asking everyone, how much do you know about your policy in your country? How big do you participate to them? And how big effort do you have? Because peace building is not just a work of one nation. It is the work of every nation on how do they sustain peace and order. It's a global approach. It's a global effort. Because SDG 16 won't be successful. We cannot reach SDG 16 as a successful sustainable goal if not every country will contribute on peace and order. Right now, I know there are countries who have disputes. Unfortunately, there are people who are dying. As of this moment, there are children who are becoming orphans. There are women who have children who pass away. There are conflicts in the other part of the globe, and it's very sad that while other people are trying their best to work on the peace and order, there are still challenges that other nations are facing. And I think, guys, on a simple note that we can just do, simple sharing, simple sympathy, or simple sharing of our love and understanding to every individual, it is contributing to the peace and order of our globe, of our global peace and order. So it's not just about working nationally, it is not just about working within our community, but it is working together towards peace and development. Well, the different nations have treaties or international law or international laws on how to sustain this. And that's why I was asking, how do we as an individual contributes to this? Because at the end of the day, this is the nation's job. This is the country's job to secure the people. But as an individual or as part of the country, what are your contributions in your in peace building in your community? Because at the end of the day, when in times of war, when in times of conflicts, when in times of disputes, everyone is affected. So I want to leave a question to everyone. You don't have to answer right now, but I hope we can reflect on this question on as an individual. What are our contributions to our nation building, specifically on peace building in our nation, be it in Southeast Asia, be it in outside our 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 national policies. So again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and I hope I was able to share to you a glimpse or some knowledge on how do we do peace building in my own community, and how does it contributes to our to our sustainable development goal 16 in this United Nations goal. That would be all. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much to Ms. Hati for opening our mind about what peace means and the definition and sharing to us about the national policy in Philippines about the former combatant who wants to be reintegrated to the society. It was quite eye-opening. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the Q&A session, and we would really appreciate if you can just raise your hand to ask question, or if you are a bit shy, you can drop your question on the link above. Please check your chat box. You can drop question on bit.ly/GLS underscore Q&A underscore 1. Do we, two, sorry. I saw two, but I said one, sorry. So do we have question yet, Miss Tias? Please wait a minute. We got noise. I'm going to check. Okay. Okay, so anyone wants to ask question about education on SDGs and also peace? I haven't seen any hand raised yet, and also a question, but I got questions. The first one would be to Professor Hazarina. It is about lifelong learning. Professor Hazarina. Okay, thank you so much. Prof, so I noticed that from your presentation, one of the things related to SDGs and education is that we need to, what is it? We need to implement lifelong learning. This is pretty much interesting, especially for me, because you know, when I at least when I was young, I used to be curious. I used to have curiosity. I want to know what and how I can how I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do to support, to bring, what is it, the kindness to the world, and what I can contribute to the society to do more, something like that. But as you know, when we get older and older, and when we have responsibility, we somehow forget that that the purpose of learning, that the purpose of studying, going to college is actually to contribute something to the society. But then when reality came to us, sometimes we forgot those purposes. And I noticed that while because of the pandemic, some people start to think again about their purpose in life, and they somehow I noticed that some already lost their spirit in giving contribution and creating impact for others. So my question to you as a professional, as a researcher, and also as a lecturer, educator, I want to know, do you have any tips for us, everyone here, to revive that spirit, whether it is educationally or individually? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I should call you Nas or
Yeah, you can
okay.
call me Nas.
Okay, thank you, Nas, for the questions. We talk about lifelong learning, which means that what we try to promote is the learning goes beyond the formal and the structured education that has been designed in many education systems around the globe. I think it's almost the same in Malaysia or in the Philippines or in Indonesia. After we completed our high school, we will go to universities, and then after university, we go for masters if you have opportunity, because studying masters also requires fundings. And this is where I think the concept of lifelong learning that we try to embrace in, at least in my university, and I'm sure in other parts of the world is doing the same as well, where we try to promote what we call bite-sized learning through courses like micro credential or online courses that students can take, bit by bit to improve their skills. If you are not familiar, you can start to do your research online. You can browse platforms like Coursera. You can browse platforms like EDX, Domestika, or FutureLearn. This is where this platform is giving you an opportunity to learn, right? To learn important skills, very specific skills, very specific knowledge for you to improve yourself. And I always encourage my students to do this. And the good thing is with flexible or lifelong learning is that now universities is accepting what they call a model called stackable degree, which means that you can stack whatever you have learned, but obviously it will take longer compared to structured education. But still, that's a room that we are giving to people, all right, not to stop studying, not to stop improving themselves via this lifelong education. So I think the way forward, future, this will be the trend, because the learning will not stop. People know that they have to acquire more and more skills, new skills. So whatever you have learned in university will probably become obsolete after a certain period of time. So learning will never stop, I think.
Thank you so much, Prof. Hazarina. Related to that, at the beginning of the pandemic, uh, somehow, we have known for a very long time that we have to implement lifelong learning, but somehow, because of the pandemic, we started to understand that lifelong learning through small courses, small credit courses is actually not that exclusive. And thank you so much for highlighting it to us, because now we know more that actually studying, whether it is in college or in formal education, it's not only about receiving certificate, but after graduating, we can still learn more about that. Thank you so much. And then now I'm going to continue to thank you so much, Professor Ina, for answering that question. And we have one question to Miss Hati. Okay, so we get question from a student about Miss Ayudania. She is asking about how do we start to contribute to the peace building of our nation? Thank you.
Okay, that's a very tough question. You know, thank you for that question. And I don't think that there's a universal answer. There's a general or very specific answer to that on how do we contribute to the peace building in our nation. Because from the basic reality, every nation has their own problem. Every nation has their own and unique issues. So when we say how do we contribute, it's about going and asking the whys in ourselves. Take for example, connecting to Miss Noor Hazarina statements here regarding education. It's also very important to know within ourselves what are our passions and what makes us awake every morning. What makes we have this common knowledge, we have this common motto in the Philippines. It says, para kanino ka bumabangon? So, to whom are you waking up to every day? So, for me, my answer is, it's about looking for the purpose of your life, taking the chance on how do you think you can contribute. It is not just specifically on peace building, okay? In the different scenarios in our lives, we are being situated in a life situation that is different from others. So let me share personally where I came from. I came from armed conflict areas. I was born here, wherein bombings, killings are normal, and it made me realize that I can contribute more here because I was here, and I am alhamdulillah, I was able to be equipped with the knowledge that I need to for me to contribute to my community. So when going back to your question, how do you contribute in nation building? It is important first to know your passion. Where are you good at? What are your interests? And go to the things that you always love to do. Because from whatever that you're doing, it is surely contributing to peace building. Why? Because a conflict is conflict is the root cause from every war. So there's really no specific answer how do you contribute to the peace building, because in every action that you do, it is contributing to peace building. It's either two ways. It's either contributing to peace building, or it's either contributing to the conflict in your community. So going back to your my final answer is, it's about knowing your purpose, knowing your passion, and from there you can contribute to your peace, to your peace building, or to your nation building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hati. Ms. Dania, do you have any follow-up questions related to that?
No, thank you. I think it has answered my question well. Thank you very much, Miss Hati and Miss Astiti.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dania. By the way, Ms. Hati, I know about, I got information and news about what's going on about the world peace and also several wars in several countries. And I noticed that individually, we can contribute, we can help them, even though we are far away from them, by giving donation. My question related to that is that, do you have any tips on finding out if whether that kind of if that's the valid way, that's the correct way to donate something? I mean, sometimes we got into scam, right? Because well, we have good intention to help people by giving donation, but we are also worried if we get scammed. Do you get my question? So we are wondering if do you have any ideas on finding the safe way to give donation across the globe? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Nastiti. That's very important question as well, on how do we bring our support or help to the people who really needs it. And at this moment, there are a lot of things that contributes to scams, to other violence, and it's very important that we are talking to the right people. When you go, when it's about donation, I think it's very important to really go to the government, basically the government has is the center of the whole country, and they know the specific conflict, and they know which people needs a lot, and which are what specific location needs a lot of help. And when we go to when we are initiating donations, it's also welcome to have to tap the non-government organization, because they are very active as well with their advocacies. But another tips that I could share is go back to the local government unit, or to the government who has jurisdiction and sovereignty over such area. Talk to their head. That's the basic. Second, if you have known an international non-government organization or international linkages, that would be also okay, because they already have the wider network, which could help you facilitate which offices or groups is legit, or who are fakes. So that's a basic. Go to the very wide network that you already had and tap them. It's also very important to know the background of the organization, what are their advocacies, and what are their mission and visions. There. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hati. And the next question would be for Professor Hazarina. But we can go to the, I think we can go to Ms. Hati again. Hello, Ms. Hati. We got another question about, wait a minute. Okay, so this one. We got another question from Shekinah Mari Wayando from College of Arts and Science from the Philippines. Some violence and conflicts is now rampant in social media. What are the salient policies that can be made for this matter? Or is there any existing policies already? Thank you so much.
Yes, I have question from from the Philippines. Well, the question is when it comes to social media, actually, yes, that's very true. There are a lot of fake news. There are a lot already of violence that's happening, and we cannot avoid it, because social media has a very powerful network, and it is impacting our personal level, specifically the mental health, no, the mental health issue. I understand that we have this safe space policy locally. In my community, we have this ordinance on safe space. It's called bawal lang bastos. So it's a policy in our locality, that people cannot just said or spread bad words on social media, specifically or trying to take negative action towards a specific. So like, for example, it's very that's very trending right now, which is the the election, no, there are a lot of fake news regarding one specific candidates. There are also a lot of movements just to make the image of a person damage in social media. So it's very important to have this safe space policy, wherein people will be careful with what they post, with what words they will share or they will message to every individual. And also included in this safe space ordinance that I'm talking about is the simple no stalking on social media. Well, it's kind of hard to monitor who is stalking you on social media, because a click away, every information that is being searched on you is easily taken. So I think it's very important as well. We have in the Philippines, we have this safe space law already, safe space ordinances in the different areas. And for the nations, for the United Nations level, I think it's very important as well to have international laws on really safe space on social media that we could develop. So Actually, different platforms on social media have these policies already, and I'm admiring some other social media platforms who is very careful already with their securities and privacies when it comes to information. So there, thanks.
Thank you so much for the well elaborated answer. Now the next question would be to Professor Noor Hazarina. Prof, there is an anonym who asked about stated earlier that SDGs should be implemented in a form of action. What kind of action that can be done, especially for students? Probably I want to, about this question, I want to add as well. Sometimes students think that their ideas is too small, so they don't feel confident in making their ideas into implementation. So what kind of action that can be done, especially for students, and how to make them feel confident about their ideas? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Very interesting questions. As I mentioned in one of my slides, I think one of the things that students should do with the assistance from the university is that we need to empower our student in the decision-making process. Particularly here for us in perhaps Asian culture, we tend to have a very hierarchical organizational structure. We tend to follow orders rather than to have a bottom-up approach, listening the voice from the bottom and taking that in our decision making. So what I would suggest, and my university is slowly is doing this already, is that in our university's meeting, in university senate meeting, we have students representative to listen to the university's policy maker in making decision for university as well as for the students. And this is what I mean by empowering, putting equity to all stakeholders. I think we need to understand, and if we have students leaders here, that you are representing the universities actually. And that's why in my slide, I mentioned that it is very important for the university's management, leaders, and administration to acknowledge that students is part of the university stakeholders. So therefore, I think one of the very important thing, and most of the universities is already embarking on this process, which is to include the future SDG implementers in the important meeting where decision is made. And we have done this. In my university, we have been doing this for the past 2 years. And surprisingly, the input from the students actually help provide insights in many decision makings. So I think that is what I would suggest for the questions on how the students can be involved. You need to put that into action actually.
Thank you so much, Prof. Hazarina. So to students, whether you are from ITS or from other universities, if you have ideas, if you have things to share, be sure to share it to the student organization so that the head of the students organization can share it to the Senate meetings. I think that's quite brilliant, Prof. Hazarina. I think also ITS do the same. We also have several students as the Senate member of the university, I think, but I need to check again. And well, if you don't feel confident, you heard what Prof. Hazarina just said, your voice matters. Your voice matters. So if you have questions, if you have ideas, just share it. And if you have question, now it's your time to drop your question here, because we have Prof. Hazarina and also we have Ms. Hati, who is as expert at education and also peace. So do we have another question for both speaker, Ms. Diaz? Okay, I will give another opportunity for anyone who wants to ask question related to today's session, goal 4 and also goal 16. Oh, wait a minute. I think there is another question. It is from Primel G. Sipasco. They're asking to Miss Norhati, I think, what are the possible reasons why there are certain group of individuals who rebels against the government?
Okay, reasons why there are group of people who are fighting against the government. Well, number one, social inequality. There are people who have less privilege that wasn't able to get the privileges that they deserve or their rights from from the government. So technically they want something, but they were not able to get it because the government or prohibited it, or the government did not allow them to do such. So basically they took negative action against it, and it um it resulted to violence. So number one. Another is, there are also another, reasons are basic social services. It's very obvious that some part of the country or some part of other, it is not just happening in the Philippines, but I understand there are also another nations who have been facing such issues, such as their rights were violated, their rights were also being abused. So from this end, they were able, or they were forced to do such crime. So there.
So that's the answer from Ms. Nurhati about the possible reasons of why a certain group of individuals rebels against the government. Is there any follow-up question from Mr. or Ms. Primel G. Pasco? I think that answers the question. Thank you so much, Ms. Hati. And I would like to ask to Prof. Hazarina again, because I feel so curious about what is it? The experience from UTM. It is quite rich. I noticed. I would like to know, Prof. Hazarina, do you have any? Yes, you mentioned that you got priorities for research from the university, but related regarding the pandemic, as we know that we got hit by COVID for 2 years, let's say, and the world focus changes from researching everything into researching on what's bringing impact to the pandemic. We would like to know about your suggestion to students if they want to start doing research, whether which one is better. Uh, is it better for them to research everything related to their curiosity, or is it better for them to focus their research to solve the pandemic again, so that probably, but not hopefully, hopefully we will recover soon, so that we can prevent if such event happen again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nas, for the question. Very interesting, and practical question. And I think the same discussion I had with the Council of Graduate Studies last month in US, pertaining to the research directions. I would say like this. You can continue to do research that you are interested in the field that you are interested in, but I think we cannot avoid from doing or from inculcating the practical elements in our research, which means that if we are interested to study, for example, early childhood education, right? We must be able to instill how this area of research has changed due to this pandemic. We must take into account. So that will make our research becomes more practical, becomes more useful. Of course, because I think we understand as a researcher, when we want to solve a specific research problem, we must, when we want to solve specific research, we must identify the research problem. And we know that we have to live in COVID now, all right? Although we are perhaps in the embrace of embracing endemic era, but we have to inculcate all this problem in our research. So to summarize my answer, yes, you can still study in the area that you are interested in, but you need to be aware as a researcher on the surrounding problems related to your field of research interest. Right? So which means that you can't hide or you can't run away from this COVID or perhaps any other pandemics issue that will come that will make your research practical.
Thank you, Prof. Hazarina. Well, I think that ends the Q&A session for today's GLS on SDGs. And I think, how can I put it? I think I feel overwhelmed because, we talk about so many things and what is it, combining SDGs number 4 and combining SDGs number 16 was pretty enriching for us and eye-opening, and I'm pretty happy about that. So I would like to thank Prof. Hazarina and also Ms. Hati for today's session. This is pretty much interesting. So thank you so much again for being the speaker of our session, and also thank you for everyone who has asked that question, and I'm pretty much happy and grateful for that. So to thank both speakers, I would like to share a souvenir, an online souvenir, but we will share it to you, send it to you, or post it to you. Miss Tiat, are you ready? So we would like to give certificate of appreciation to our first speaker, Prof. Noor Hazarina Hashim. Okay. Wait a minute. I think we got technical problem. Could you please wait a minute? We're trying to, okay, so this is the first certificate is given, this is the certificate given to Professor Noor Hazarina. So applause to her. Thank you so much for being the first speaker of our GLS on SDGs today. And then the second certificate is given to Ms. Norhati Tangging for being the second speaker and also sharing insightful ideas about peace. Thank you so much. And congratulations to both of you, and thank you so much for our togetherness today. To end our session, I would like to invite everyone here to turn on their camera because we're going to take photos. Okay, so my friend Ms. Tias will be helping us in taking pictures. So be sure that you turn on your camera. Okay, so I will count in 3. Be prepared and share your best smile in 1, 2, 3. Please smile for once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you so much. So okay. Now that we have finished our group photo, once again, I would like to thank you for the availability and the contribution of our speakers today, Ms. Hati and also Prof. Hazarina. Thank you so much. We believe that your lecture today really open our eyes, and I trust me, because I myself feel so much enlightened about your ideas. And once again, thank you so much for being the speakers for on the GLS on SDGs for Goal 4, Quality Education, and also Goal 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institution. After taking pictures together, I would like to remind all the participants to fill in the feedback. You can see it in the chat box. It is at the bit.ly GLS_feedback. And also don't forget to write down your TWIL, because you are required to submit it. Please tell us about what you have learned about today's session. And we want to remind you that the participants who will get the stamp are the participants who come on time, join this event until the end, and also fill the feedback form. Thank you so much for the active participation. And we also invite you to our next event on GLS on SDGs, because if last semester we only have GLS on on Tuesday and Wednesday, now we also have sessions on Thursday. There will be Dr. Sharon Wilson from UTAR talking about gender equality, Ms. Lanifel Manalo from University of Batangas about the efforts of local government units in the attainment of the UN SDGs. On the second stream, there would be Dr. Tania Islam from talking about gender as a social and cultural construct, and Dr. Jonel Pineda Lanada from West Visayas State University talking about social and political marginalization of civil society groups the Philippines experience. So it marks the end of today's session. I would like to once again thank all the participants and all the speakers, the two speakers. Thank you so much. We are very much honored to have you. Hello, how are you? It's nice to meet you again. And also, don't forget to follow our social media on Instagram and Facebook to get updated of our programs. So see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. My name is Nastiti. I'll see you again.
See you. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Miss Hati.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for all participants.